During Ibarra's fishing trip, Elias worked as boat pilot. When Elias saw a crocodile entangled in the nets, Elias bravely grappled with the crocodile which was caught in the fish corral. But the crocodile fought back so fiercely that Elias was unable to subdue it. Ibarra dove into the water and killed the crocodile, saving Elias. After the crocodile incident, Maria Clara, who had a sweet voice, sang a beautiful song and they went ashore. Soon after, a sergeant and four Guardia Civil soldiers arrived looking for Elias, who was wanted for assaulting Padre Damaso and throwing the alferez into a mud hole. Fortunately, Elias had vanished and the Guardia Civil had returned empty-handed. Elias represents the abused Filipinos who are not only aware of their countrymen's injustices but also wishes to liberate them from their oppressors. He is said to be Andres Bonifacio's personification, and I believe that his tragic circumstances motivated him to work for a prosperous society for the Philippines, which is why he advocated for change. Elias was born in a wealthy family. He had a twin sister to a father who was the son of a prostitute and a mother who was the daughter of a wealthy man. The twins were told that their father had died and they had also witnessed their mother's death when they were young. The two were raised by their maternal grandfather and led happy lives. Elias's grandfather worked for a Spanish merchant in Manila 60 years ago. The warehouse catches fire one night and the merchant blames Elias's grandfather, who is then dragged behind a horse in a public punishment. Everyone abandons him except his wife, who is pregnant and begins begging on the family's behalf, despite the fact that no one contributes any financial assistance. Elias and his sister fled Tayabas to hide their shame elsewhere. His sister went missing after his father passed away, and half a year later, Elias discovered that a girl identifying his sister's description had drowned in Calamba, Laguna. Elias has since become a fugitive roaming the country. He eventually got in contact with a band of bandits led by Capitan Pablo in Tanawan, Batangas. He also found at one point that the source of his family's misfortune was the wealthy man for whom his grandfather worked, named Don Pedro Ibaramenja. Elias was a wanted man in San Diego. After experiencing one tragedy after another, he made the decision to work to improve the society. After Crisostomo Ibarra saved his life, he began assisting the young man, saving him on numerous occasions. Rizal illustrates once more how Spaniards often manipulate less fortunate native Filipinos. I believe that the story of Elias about his fall from society's good graces demonstrates how much important wealth and reputation in Philippine culture during the Spanish colonization and even now in the present days. It is important to note that the real father of Elias was never a bandit. He was just simply a poor man. The fact that the revelation of this secret destroys the life of Elias by isolating him from society demonstrates how superficial and arbitrary the power structures in community before and up to these present days. I believe that Elias is the representation of true modern Filipinos who are fighting against the corrupt government. His character is still embodied mostly by the Filipino youth who are advocating for a real change. As a youth of this nation, I believe that Elias portrays bravery and humanity that we must have for us to raise our flag of independence and to move forward with pride for our country.
In his hometown, Ibarra met several interesting people, such as the wise old man Tasio the philosopher, whose ideas were too advanced for his times, so that the people who could not understand him called him Tasio the lunatic. The progressive school teacher who complained to Ibarra that the children were losing interest in their studies because of the lack of proper schoolhouse and the discouraging attitude of the parish friars towards both the teaching of Spanish and of the use of modern methods of pedagogy. The spineless Gobernadorcillo, who catered to the wishes of the Spanish parish friars, Don Filipo Lino, and the Teniente Mayor and the leader of the Cuadrilleros, or the town police, and the former Gobernadorcillos who were prominent citizens, Don Basilio and Don Valentin. The next day, Ibarra visited old Tasio to consult him on his pet project about the schoolhouse. He saw the old man's writings were written in hieroglyphics. Tasio explained to him that he wrote in hieroglyphics because he was writing for the future generations who would understand them and say, "Not all were asleep in the night of our ancestors." In the morning of the fiesta, there was a high mass officiated by Padre Salvi. Padre Damaso gave the long sermon in which he expatiated on the evils of the times that were caused by certain men who, having tasted some education, spread pernicious ideas among the people. After Padre Damaso's sermon, the Mass was continued by Padre Salve. Elias quietly moved to Ibarra, who was kneeling and praying by Maria Clara's side, and warned him to be careful during the ceremony of the laying of the cornerstone of the schoolhouse. Elias suspected that the yellowish man who built the derrick was a paid stooge of Ibarra's enemies. True to his suspicion, later in the day, when Ibarra, in the presence of a big crowd, went down into the trench to cement the cornerstone, the derrick collapsed. Elias, quick as flash, pushed him aside, thereby saving his life. The yellowish man was the one crushed to death by the shattered derrick. So Pilosopo Tasha is another major character in the story. His full name is only known as Don Anastasio. The educated inhabitants of San Diego labeled him as Pilosopo Tasio, or Tasio the Sage, while others called him as Tasio el Loco, or Tasio the Insane, due to his exceptional talent for reasoning. Tasio comes from a rich family. He is often the pessimist and is untrusting of human altruism. He also does not believe in the religious fanaticism that was in vogue during his time. Tasio is one of the characters in the novel that Rizal can relate to, as the former is patterned after the latter's oldest brother, Pasiano Rizal.
It is the eve of the fiesta, and the town is filled with music, gaiety, and bright ornaments. That night, Father Damaso invites himself to a dinner that hosting was Ibarra. Padre Damaso insults both indigenous Filipinos and Ibarra's father specifically. After that, Ibarra punches Father Damaso without any hesitation, but before he can kill him, he's stopped by Maria Clara. In this event, it describes in detail how the fiesta is a great opportunity to showcase the art, sculptures, tapestries, and many more. It also said that Padre Damaso have a big loath towards Ibarra. He still harbors resentment and he even sympathizes the indigenous Filipinos. When the fiesta is over, Maria Clara becomes ill. She is treated by Don Tiburcio and his wife, Doña Victorina. Doña Victorina cares about her image as a beautiful and admired socialite, though she was actually past her prime. She is only in her 30s but look much older, and she quick adopts the latest trends. It is her idea to have Don Tiburcio treat Maria Clara. She also encouraged to bring his respectable nephew, Linares, whom she is eager to pair off with Maria Clara. In this event, it's enlightened that Doña Victorina is an obvious asocial climber. She, along with her husband, Don Tiburcio, sought to associate themselves with the influential figures of San Diego in order to gain further social status. She just committed to do anything to gain esteem and pressuring her husband to improve their social standing by lying about his profession.
When Elias knew that Ibarra was arrested, he burned all the papers that might incriminate his friend and set Ibarra's house on fire. He destroyed possible evidence that could implicate Ibarra. Ibarra, with the help of Elias, took the opportunity and escaped from prison. But before leaving, they stopped at Capitan Tiago's house. Ibarra talked to Maria Clara and accused her of betraying him, an act which was done by giving the letter he wrote for her to the jury. Maria Clara explained to Ibarra that she would never give him away and that the letter which the jury has is not the letter he wrote her, but instead were a couple of letters written by her late mother, Pia Alba, which Padre Salve gave her. The letter stated that her mother was raped by Padre Damaso and that she was therefore not the daughter of Capitan Tiago but of Padre Damaso. Maria Clara betrayed Ibarra even though she loves him. She did it in order to keep the secret that Padre Damaso was her biological father, since she doesn't want to disgrace her mother's name or compromise Captain Tiago's social standing. Still, she feels intense remorse at having Ibarra sold out. Afterwards, Ibarra and Elias boarded a boat and fled the place. Elias instructed Ibarra to tie down and the former covered the latter with grass so as to conceal the latter's presence. As luck would have it, they were spotted by their enemies. Elias thought he would outsmart them and jumped into the water. The men rained shots on the person in the water, all the while not knowing that they were hitting the wrong person. The water turned red because of Elias' blood. Thus, Ibarra was able to escape. After Ibarra saves his life from a vicious crocodile, Elias swears to protect the young man from his enemies, which are legion. This can happen in a real-life event. The characters and events in the story resemble our lives, culture, and beliefs as Filipino people. The conflicts in the novel still exist in today's generation. That is why everyone needs to learn and read Noli Tangere. It talks about sacrifice and family. Sacrifice was seen through Elias, who died while trying to save a friend whom he sees as the future Filipinos that time. Rizal reminds us to never forget those who fell and sacrificed themselves for the future of our country. The essence of family was when Maria chose her family over her lover. On the other hand, Elias' tragic and gruesome story demonstrates what isolation and estrangement from society often lead to misery and death. Elias represents the common Filipino who is not only aware of the injustices done to their countrymen, but would also like to deliver them from their oppressors. Elias represented Andres Bonifacio in Noli Tangere.
Bumalik si Basilio sa San Diego upang hanapin ang kanyang ina. Nakita niyang pumasok ang kanyang ina sa pinto ng libingan ng matandang Kastila. Ngunit hindi siya makapasok. Umakyat siya sa puno ng balete at nakita niya ang kanyang ina na nakatukod ang ulo sa dahon ng pinto. Siya ay nahulog at nawalan ng malay. Nakita ni Sisa si Basilio at ito ay kanyang minasdan at naliwanagan ang kanyang isipan at nakilala niya si Basilio, ang kanyang anak. Niyakap at hinagkan niya ito. Ngunit, matapos makapagbitiw ng isang malakas na sigaw, si Sisa ay namatay. Doon natagpuan ni Elias sina Basilio at Sisa. Hinang-hina at wala ng lakas si Elias at malapit na siyang mamatay. Inutusan niya si Basilio na kumuha ng mga kahoy upang sunugin ang kanyang bangkay at ang bangkay ng ina ni Basilio na si Sisa. Tumanaw si Elias sa silangan at pabulong na nagwika. Mamamatay akong hindi man lamang namasdan ang maningning na bukang liwayway sa aking inang bayan. Kayong makakakita, batiin ninyo siya at huwag kaliligtaan ang mga nalugmok sa dilim ng gabi. Sa event na aking napili ay napansin nating may matalinghaga siyang sinabi bago siya binawian ng buhay. Ang matatalinghagang pananalita ni Elias ay nagbibigay pakahulugan na siya ay mamatay na hindi man lamang makikita ang bukang liwayway at hindi man lamang niya makikita ang kanyang pinapangarap na maganda para sa kanyang bayan at hindi niya makikita ang kalayaan. Ngunit meron siyang hiling o request sa mga susunod na henerasyon. Ang sabi niya ay, kayong makakita, batiin niyo siya. Pahalagahan ninyo ang kalayaan at ng inyong nararanasan at huwag ninyong kalilimutan o kaliligtaan ang mga nalugmok sa dilim ng gabi. Parang sinasabi ni Elias na tayo iyon, tayong mga nagsikap, tayong mga nagnanais na makamit ang kalayaan. Napakalalim at napagkikitaan na si Elias ay mapagmahal sa bayan. Kahit kaaway dapat ang turing niya kay Crisostomo Ibarra, pero naniniwala siya na si Crisostomo Ibarra ay may malaking maitutulong sa kalagayan ng bansa. Kaya at kinalimutan niya ang nakaaway ng kanyang pamilya, sa halip tinulungan niya ito at itinakas. Aking nahihinuha sa aking event na napili na laging mayroong kapalit na maganda at ang mga kalunos-lunos na pangyayari sa ating buhay. Laging may liwanag na naghihintay para sa bawat isa.